Hey everybody, this is Blue, and we're going to have fun tonight. The other night I watched a video by Dan Bloodworth in which he was talking about these consent forms for RPGs. And this is related to those darn safety tools that some liberals love to push on us. And I just got really ticked off about it, and so I was doing some research about it because I was going to do a response video. And in Bloodworth's video, he said, talking about these consent forms again, and I learned that this has been going on for 6 years. It is irritating to me that this is happening, because this is, I better state this first. I am not a conservative, but I'm not a liberal either. I am a moderate. But unfortunately, the liberal left has been trying to do the shame Olympics and all that, and they keep moving the goalposts, and now I sound more conservative than ever, because I'm in disagreement with the liberals. That's fine, I guess. I've been trying to pay attention to a lot of the drama that's been going around in all the IPs for the wargaming and RPGs. Warhammer has gone through some drama right now because they have bent the knee and they are creating female versions of fighters that have always been male. And they did some retconning and saying that it's always had bad females in it. And this has upset some people, because there are people that spend a lot of money on those miniature war games. And so for them to, retcon the lore to Warhammer is an act of sin. It's an act of war, okay? I guess that's a better way to say it. And then with Battletech, there has been a couple of videos I saw where they are trying to put the LGBTQIA plus drama into it. And they had this picture of a mech with the flag and let's forget what was it, trans rights or a bite or something like that, in which they were trying to push the LGBTQIA plus whatever drama into that game as well. And I feel that it is these activists that are doing this consent list BS, because this is their way to try to impose their rules, their concepts into our game. I absolutely hate them. This is so stupid, because these people are also very self-absorbed. They feel like they are superior to us, because let's face it, yes, our hobbies here are dominated by us old white men. But we do have women involved. We do have other races involved. We have been open to everybody. We don't say people, hey, you can't, you don't think like I do. But then it's odd, because we got these companies that make these games that we play. They say that if you don't agree with our politics, don't play their game, and spend your money elsewhere. They don't want our money if we don't agree with them, which is the stupidest business model I've ever seen. Because wouldn't you want all money? Because you're a business, you're supposed to make profit and all that. And they are so deluded, so brainwashed, that they don't understand or refuse to understand how general business works. You make a product, it costs some money, you try to sell it and make more money to cover those costs and pocket a few bucks. But it's like the comic book industry. They are so wrapped up in the agenda, the drama, that they don't care about the profit, it seems. And that royally sucks. Just a moment, please. And so I did my research and I came across 4 forums, and I am wanting to go through them because this is so stupid. These people, they're so wrapped up in their feelings and they're fragile. They're overly fragile. They can't handle real life, reality. They cannot handle historical reality either. And so it's just bothers me so much. And they are wanting to get people into the games and start putting in these restrictions, because that's what basically this list of consents are. Let me get on my glasses real quickly. Because some of these have these color codes, and red is do not include this in the game, hardline. Do not include this in the game in any concepts. So they are trying to tell DMs, people who create these amazing games, you can't put that in there, because if you want me, somebody who's special, to play in your game, you can't discuss this aspect. You cannot talk about it in any way, shape, or form, or I'm going to be triggered and all that. And so what we really have to do is basically say, well, then you can't play our game. Goodbye. Leave it at that. But I know what would happen. Because these are basically fanatical leftist idiots, they will attack anybody and everybody that says you can't play the game. You're not allowed to play the game. If you think we have different ways of thinking and my game does not fit your personality, so you can't play my game, they will then twist it and turn it and say that I or somebody else is a transphobe and we should be canceled, whatever they want to call it now, from the gaming hobby. They will try to blacklist us. It will fail. Talking about, again, the companies, I gotta get back on topic quickly. These companies, they are constantly bending the knee, and they are tweaking product, and what used to be awesome back in the 80s, 90s, and all that is still good, and it's better than some of the crap that they're coming out with now, because they are having too much woke in their games, and it's taken away from the desire to play the game. I have played Rollmaster, MERP, for most of my role-playing history. And I have the advantage right now because I got 2nd edition and almost all of 3rd edition for my Rollmaster system. And so I have everything that I need to roleplay. And there's nothing that they can do about it. It's mine. I own it. They could change and rewrite 2nd edition all they want to. I have the originals. I'm not buying anymore. I even have the original PDFs saved on my computer. So You know, if I need to get it, I got it. And I think that's what a lot of us are going to have to do. I did a video talking about the Trove and all that. Maybe we need to go to the Trove and get the classic books there so that we can stop funding all these companies that are bending the knee for all these leftists that want to destroy our hobby and refuse to create anything new and interesting. So anyway, I gotta get moving on here. First checklist right here. You know, they want you to rate it. If it was a movie, you know, is it G, PG, PG-13, rated R, NC-17, or other? And I'm just going, it could be either. Each session is different. So I'm not going to give the whole campaign a rating. And then they got the color code, you know, on this one. It's green, I want to see it, you know, enthusiasm, consent given. Blue, I don't mind this being in the game. Okay, yellow, acceptable if veiled or off stage. Maybe okay on stage, but requires discussion ahead of time, uncertain. Fantasy is difficult. It is brutal. And these people, they can't handle reality. And so you need to coddle them. And no. Red, do not include in this game hardline. This sheet is not to be treated as a gospel by the GM or the players. Consent can be retracted at any time for any reason. No, it can't. I will not deal with a player that's going to go, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me, so I want all relationship talk in the game removed. Well, that could have been an interesting dynamic between some PCs or some NPCs, PCs, something in the game that would be going on in that session, and they want to be able to withdraw consent at any point in time. This is a very harsh thing. This is just as bad as what's going on in the dating realm, because they are saying that a female can withdraw consent of having a sexual relationship at any time, even after the event. And so a woman could have doubt after doing something and feeling ashamed and wants to handle it the best way, blame it all on the men, on a guy. She could say that she was raped because she rescinded her consent. And that's what they want to do here. Damn. So you gotta tell them what type of horror is in here. Body horror, bugs, blood, gore, harm to animals, harm to children, rats, spiders. I have a fantasy RPG. I have undead in it. I don't have flesh-eating zombies and all that in it, but there is going to be some body horror involved. There are cultures that do some weird stuff to their bodies. That could be considered body horror. Blood, of course, there's violence. There's going to be fighting, sword fights. So yeah, there's going to be blood involved. Gore, yes, because there's going to be mutations and all that. Harm to animals. This is a fantasy setting. And so they might have to hunt food. Oh my gosh. You know, what are they supposed to do? Starve because this person over here doesn't want the rabbits to get hurt? I mean, rats, you know, what about the rats? And spiders, you know, in a general sense, people call spiders bugs. So whoever create this little checklist is an idiot. Relationships. Because they don't want there to be any social abuse. Sometimes that's part of a backstory. You could have a character that went through some family abuse and they went into a dark spot and they're trying to recover. They're building themselves back up. That is a part of a story. Leave it in there. The only thing is, I would myself have put in a rule that can actively, intentionally happen in a session. So if we had a married couple, two characters going on in this campaign, if once there was any instigation of there going to be a family squabble that could go into violence, I, because I'm the GM, would go, nope, stop, nope, that's not happening. If that happens, one of you will have to leave. Okay? GMs do have some responsibilities to the game. Fade to black, which means to skip it. No, because sometimes there are aspects in relationships that the other people want to go through. Okay? We cannot have this one special leotard dictate what other people can and can't do. And so, no fade to black. It's part of the session for a reason. Then they might ban explicit sex scenes. We're not going to go into utter details, but there could be, as I go into my cottage, I see my wife who is just covered in a towel as she walks towards me and kisses me. Okay, if that's all you said, I see no problem with that. They're even saying, there should not be relationships between PCs and NPCs. Both are fictional characters. What's the big deal? You can't have relationships between PCs or between my PCs and any other character. This is just some moron trying to control other people's games, and it should not be allowed. Sex, and romance, there are times where that's a part of the story. It's like one of the good things. In one of the groups that I loved, I had a love story between two people that lost everything. They hit rock bottom, and she hated him for the longest time. And as time passed, they grew close, and they saw each other in different lights. And when the story came to an end, they were married and had children. And, that is something positive and wonderful that happened in the game. So, yeah, right, to their stuff. They don't want social, cultural issues. They don't want fantasy racism. Elves not liking dwarves, etc. Bullcrap! I mean, there are orcs that hate most races, but there needs to be that type of thing. It adds to the story. And so, I mean, yeah, we don't want races in real life, but this isn't real life. This is fantasy. No homophobia, transphobia. Well, what if I don't have that in my game? Because I don't. I don't believe in allowing any of those outside modern day politics into my game. There is no LGBTQIA plus ethics in my game. So, and I won't allow people to bring it into my game either. And so this is important. Realistic racism, real world religions, sexism. There are fantasy races that are very crude and rude. Some of these races, as part of their cultures, view women as second class citizens. It's not the right thing to think in our modern world, but for this fantasy, it works. And I'm not going to change it because some liberals said it's wrong. Do not take your presentism and put it into my game or other people's games. If you are the GM, and you have that into your game, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Because if you bend the knee, what's next? We have to draw a line in the sand and stand by it. Mental and physical health. They don't want you to talk about abortion, abuse, cancer, chronic disease. There were rampant diseases back in, pre-Iron Age and all that. The mortality rate was high, up until recently. So chronic disease is a part of life. The plague. I mean, Tolkien even had the plague in his in the Lord of the Rings. And so freezing to death, gaslighting, genocide. There are races that absolutely hate each other, and some are going to strive to have the complete eradication of another race. That's what makes them so evil. That's what makes them such a great evil force for the game. They don't want you to talk about miscarriages. Sometimes that happens. It's reality. Again, they can't handle reality. Natural disasters. I have random event sheets in my game. And so sometimes there's going to be storms. We need little odd things that happen. Sometimes you need that story where a tornado came through and a couple of people got injured and you have to get something to help them. A side quest, And they want to take that away from you. Paralysis, physical restraint. People get injured. Okay? Police aggression. Corrupt governments have corrupt police systems. That's a part of fantasy. I mean, good Lord. Robin Hood, the Sheriff of Nottingham. Can't talk about pregnancy, self-harm. Self-harm. Okay. You could have a PC that has self-harm in his backstory because he hit rock bottom. He or she hit rock bottom. And they're rebuilding their lives. They might have an episode where they fall again, and they might do self-harm. It is the road to recovery. It is a redemption arc. So self-harm, if done right, is not that damn bad. Sexual assault. Again, if it's a backstory item and not brought in as an active event in a session, it could be allowed. Starvation. That happens. That's fantasy. Sometimes you can be without food and you're a crappy hunter. Terrorism. Corrupt governments have rebel units. Some of these adventures are going to be fighting corrupt governments. And how do you do it? Sometimes with, unfortunately, terrorist things. Torture. I hate to say this, but the most popular RPG in our community is Dungeons and Dragons. What happens in Dungeons? People get tortured. And then they have some space for you to add on additional topics. Fuck that. Oh, one of my favorites. This is World of Darkness edition. RPG consent checklist. Green can be included in any way, shape, or form. Yellow can only be addressed indirectly in backstories, dialogue, scenes needed to be discussed prior. Again, there's a possibility something might happen because you could get a dice roll on a random event chart, and the one thing that, oh, we had to discuss this, all of a sudden pops up. And red should not be included under any circumstance. Common fears: gore, insects, loss of control, spiders, reptiles, heights, falling. How is heights and falling going to be that traumatic? We are sitting at a table. We are having counters or paper miniatures, lead miniatures, whatever. And maybe with the castle walls, they are 3 layers high. They're like this high. And having your counter or whatever is going to trigger you. As Bloodworth said in his video, if you cannot handle this, you should not be playing this game. I mean, if it's the slightest thing is going to set you off, you are mentally fragile and you should not be playing this game. Body horror. Well, what if some little fragile fuck thinks that anything that changes the body is a body horror? So if you know about Lord of the Rings, you got the woes with their body tattoos. Think Braveheart with the facial tattoos and all that. Is that a body horror? No, but there's some idiot that's probably going to say, yes it is. Needles. Clowns. Yes, that's right. They have it listed under the sheet that clowns is a common fear. So here comes the court gesture. Oh no, look at dumbass over there. He's triggered. Real world references. Current events. If you are running a near Earth, a near fantasy, a near historic campaign, you could have some form of current event in there, just altered a little bit. And, you know, that's part of the game then. And here they're saying, nope, they might not want you to do that. Major historical events. Again, if you are doing an alternative history, yes, you're going to have some major historical events themed into your game. And this one pissed me off. Parodies. Why in the fuck do I need anybody's permission to run a parody in my gaming world? I mean, maybe I want to have, let's go Napoleon. And, you know, Battle of Borodino, one of the bloodiest battles in the Napoleonic Wars, where somebody got lucky and they shot Napoleon in the butt. Because there's rumors that one of the things that affected him at the Battle of Borodino was he had hemorrhoids. And, damn, it might trigger somebody. Punishments. Public humiliation. Corporal punishment. Veiling. Public execution. Social isolation. Incarceration. Again, what's one of the keywords in our hobby? Dungeons. They do dungeon crawls and all that. Where are people that are incarcerated put at? In dungeons. And so their ideas here are, and they're stupid because they are not thinking, well, if this hobby is about going into dungeons, we can't say you can't talk about dungeons. But this is their way to infiltrate and to destroy our game. These people that want to spread their agenda. Then again, here's where they're talking about romance and sex on this one. And, I think to each their own, each GM that they could have it as they wish. And, as long as they're not forcing people to, act out a sex scene, go for it. Taboos. Incest. Again, this goes into where a GM has some responsibilities. Most incests, since we're not in Missouri, should be considered wrong, and a GM should put his foot down if somebody tries to do that. Ableism. Ableism is a discrimination against people with disabilities. Now, the problem I have that is if somebody is disabled, they are going to exploit this. This is what liberals do. In Doctor Who, they redid Davros. Davros, the founder of the Daleks. In original Who, he was bound in this wheeled life support chair. And in New Who, they made him where he can walk because they don't want anybody to associate people in like a wheelchair to be dark and evil. But then they have in New Who this one lady that has a wheelchair that has lasers and missiles built into it. Jaime from Game of Thrones had his hand cut off. It is historically accurate that thieves would have a hand cut off. Whatever hand they used to steal something, that was a hand that was cut off. And so this causes a problem because there were societies that if they saw a person walking down the street missing a hand, he was automatically assumed to be a thief, and he was sometimes stoned, shunned, forced out of the community because they don't want him in the community. But according to their checklist, they don't want you to be historically accurate. They don't want you to talk about abortion, addictions. Again, this could be a backstory. Somebody could have been an alcoholic. Why can't they fight it and use it as a redemption? Bestiality. Well, different cultures view things differently. And while it can be kind of disgusting in many aspects, maybe in some other culture, remember this is a fantasy with a lot of different cultures, a lot of different values. Okay? No bullying, I understand that part. Cannibalism. Well, cannibalism is a historic accuracy. And so if it's historically accurate, why can't it not be into a fantasy? Child abuse. That again goes into where a GM must draw the line and all that. And, maybe a PC went through child abuse as a minor, but it doesn't happen in active sessions. No domestic violence, that's understandable to some degrees. No homophobia. Well, what if your world does not have homophobia? They don't want you to talk about illnesses, mental and physical. Murder, my gosh, it's a fantasy, and there are murder hobos out there. Sometimes you gotta go catch a murderer, okay? They don't want you paraphilia, which is strange sexual interests, which I agree with. But somebody can be perverted and It's just they're not able to act that out in a session. Police brutality, again, we have corruption. Now they bring up queerphobia, which apparently is not homophobia. Racism, rape. Rape can be used as a backstory. Religious extremism. Well, that a cult is a bunch of religious fanatics. And sometimes that is what could be destroying a village, and your party has to go and protect the village and find the cult and take them out. It can be part of the story. Self-harm, sexism, sexual assault, sexual violence, slavery. Again, slavery is historically accurate, and there were a lot of races that did slavery. And so you should be able to have people that were slaves and they're trying to rebuild their lives. I even have a profession of slave in my game for that purpose. Somebody could have been a slave for 12 years of their life, and all of a sudden they get a chance to break free, or slavery was abolished and they have to now change their life. They're no longer a slave. They have to build a new profession and build a new life. And if they succeed, that's awesome. Don't talk about suicide. Now they got transphobia listed. Torture, again. Violence against animals, violence against children. This one also has one thing that pisses me off, because it says character death and it gives you a couple lines. So then the liberal who wants to put all these restrictions on you is also going to restrict the way his character will die in the game. Let me see, make sure you understand this. If the little fragile doesn't want his precious PC to be run through by a sword, and he writes that down and we're supposed to cater to it, he's going to have to die some other way. And so if he puts these types of restrictions on there, you've got to go, well, he can't go in there, he could die. And he will have a triggering event if he goes in there. So, this is why we can't have this crap. Number 3 is bugs. Yeah, very similar to that first one here. In fact, it is just a reversion, so we don't have to go through that one. Oh, I'm sorry. Right there's the first one that I was talking about. That's the second one. You can find these on Google. I just put in their RPG consent checklists, and these were the first images that I saw. Number 5, this is the remake of the first one, and then the last one is right here. All right. So again, they're talking about so many dumb things. Gaslighting, okay. Imprisoning mental health patients against their will. This is fantasy. I mean, my gosh, we were still doing this in the 1800s here. So these people, if you can't handle historic fact, you better not try to go into fantasy, because it's going to be much worse. Trivializing mental illnesses. The highly educated in these time frames, especially we're talking about fantasy here, they weren't highly educated. They did not understand what causes many mental illnesses. They had no concept of Alzheimer's and dementia and all that. And so they are going to trivialize it. They're just going to say he's old, he lost his marbles. Okay? This is another case where they're presenting. They're putting their present concepts into a fantasy or a historic fiction. They don't want you to talk about witch persecution. In my game, I have witch hunters, mage hunters. It's going to happen. No sexism, bullshit. Sizeism, fat shaming. It happens modern day. Why is it not going to happen then? Slut shaming. I have two professions, the enchantress and the dervish, that use sex, dances, glamours, and in their magic. And so I'm going to have some people of questionable ethics in my game. And if you can't handle it, this isn't the game for you. Name calling, bullying. Name calling. I mean, it's going to happen because you're going to have aggressions. You're going to have people that are going to out try and killing each other. Because somebody's trying to take out an evil sheriff and his men. So there's going to be name calling. There are going to be players that are going to get into it, and they're going to be verbalizing a whole bunch of insults and all that. It's part of the game. It's part of the immersion. You're not going to be acting in good conduct all the time. You're going to get into your character. And if your character is a barbarian with a battle axe taking out a whole bunch of corrupt deputies, what do you think he's going to say? Internal, they're talking about substance abuse. I'm not going to go over what they're talking. They don't want any racial slurs in here. That's not realistic. But they go through, this is basically what's been on the other lists. They don't want you to talk about infant death. It is a dark topic, but it's historically accurate, and in many fantasy games, where the big bad to spread terror and to take control of the area will raid and destroy entire villages. Burn them down. Men, women, and children die. Okay? Well, if that's part of the lore and all that, are we supposed to remove everything like that from it? Just so that the fragile over there doesn't get triggered? Mutilation of corpses, human trafficking, burning at the stake. This person knows a little bit more about the burning times, obviously. Kidnapping, cannibalism. Some of the events from our real history are put into fantasy games to add reality, to grit, shadow, darkness, and all that, so that it is intense. You are only able to judge your character on a level compared to the evil that they fight. If all you are fighting against are a couple thugs, that's not much of a battle. But if you have an epic bad guy that has his minions do some very bad things, the fight to stop him becomes epic. You need your bad guys in comparison to your good guys. That's part of the game. Some of the other things in here, they don't want sex slaves. Victim blaming, cheating, or forced marriages. These are all parts of the game. If you're in a fantasy, and you can even make it into some cultures in sci-fi and all that. Them thinking that we have to remove so much stuff is taken away from what makes our games fun. We do not celebrate incest, but we celebrate kicking the asses of people that try it. Okay? So, in my card, I put in there RPG consent checklists, fine. Code of conduct, contracts. If they want to dictate what is in our games, I believe we should be able to hand them a contract in how they're going to behave in our games. I think that would be the only fair thing that we can do. And yeah, I can move that up. Okay, so it's very simple. GM name, that's you. Okay, if it's your game, you're the GM. There you go. Player's name, you want to find out what the Fragile Fox name is and the name of their PC that they're going to be trying to put into your campaign, if they can handle it. And you just basically go through it. Player agrees to follow these rules of conduct to be allowed to play in the campaign. Violation of these rules can and will lead to immediate removal of the player from the RPG group. Okay, you need to have this out, plain and simple. You either play it by our rules, and we will try to be as accommodating to you as we can without taking away from the game, but you have to do these things. And most of them are absolutely freaking simple. Number 1, player will attend all sessions and at the scheduled times. Okay, it makes scheduling hard, when everybody is going, well, I can't be here at this time and all. Well, if somebody is wanting to play the game desperate enough and they want to put in all these little requirements, well, we need to put the requirement, you will be here at this time or you're gone. Number 2, if player can't attend session, we can't be absolute pricks. The player will call the GM with at least 24-hour notice. That's basically, hey, I can't come in, this is going on, okay, sorry. All right, number 3. Now, these are some of the rules that I have in my game. No alcohol before or during gaming session. The last thing we need is one person getting drunk off their ass and disrupting the game, because these are people that are going to be harder to keep focus on the game to keep it going smooth. And so, no alcohol. And then number 4, no illegal drugs before or during the game. We can't control people's lives all the time, and some people are going to want to smoke their weed and all that. They can wait till after the game if they want to play. Number 5, player will provide $10 in snacks to be shared with the gaming group. Okay, it's a community thing. We're supposed to bond and share stories and all that. You share food too. You bring your own drinks, as long as they're non-alcoholic, as long as they are not alcoholic. But the food, bring a bag of Doritos, meat and cheese tray, awesome. But everybody adds something and you share. It doesn't mean you have to try everybody else's stuff, but you can try something from somebody else. You might like it. Who knows? No discussing religion or politics in the gaming room. This is my gaming room here. And so when I have players come here, as soon as that door closes, we do not talk about real world politics or real world religion. That is not allowed. You want to talk about it? If we take a break or after the game, fine. And when we take a break, we'll go outside, sit on the front porch, no big deal. Number 7, be respectful to your fellow players and GM. Okay, this is common manners, pleases, thank yous, and all that. Because if we could treat each other better, the game goes by a lot faster. We have more fun. Number 8, never tell fellow players how to play the game. There are some real pricks out there that want to go, that's not how you play a paladin. A paladin should be following these religious rules, and you're not doing that. I would kick your ass out of the game. Okay? Nobody's going to tell you how to play your player. Let the others play their players. Because you could be having a paladin that's going through a hard time right now. Okay? So let them play it as they want to. Number 9 is my 2-minute rule. When it comes your turn, you have 2 minutes to tell me what tell me and the players what you're going to do. Okay? Now, you can, of course, there are some times where you want to do something sneaky and you got to take a piece of paper and, kind of do it under the hand, and hand it to the GM. But you got 2 minutes to do it. Now, if it takes more than 2 minutes to explain, that's fine. But if you are not talking during that 2 minutes and all that, hey, you screwed up. And if you screw up, you basically lost your turn. Your player just sits there with his thumb up his ass. Number 10 is, this is a homebrew. I do not want a rules lawyer. I don't want somebody coming in here with their version of Rolemaster player character and campaign law version 2 and say, no, and according to Rolemaster, this is what they do. Because this isn't Rolemaster. When I am done building this game, it's Sagemaster. Okay? And what is in Rolemaster doesn't mean squat. Number 11. Now, this is getting into some of the more modern politics, but I think this is very important. Play a fantasy character. No self-insertions. What's happening in some of the other media, Velma, the remake of Velma that they did, I forget what the actress's name is. It's a self-insertion. She is just saying that she is Velma, and she's just doing what she normally does in life. And it sucks. I do not want somebody that wants to take all of their personal life and put it on a piece of paper and all that and say that this is how their character is. That is a twisted version of presentism, and I don't want it in my game. Number 12, there are no LGBT issues in this gaming world. You are not allowed to bring them into the game. Okay, we don't have a pronoun problem in my gaming world. We use proper English. He, she, it, singular, they, them, plural. Okay? They, them, thus, plural. And so, you cannot come into my game and go, well, they, bug self, demon self, and all that. Yeah, because my response will be, door. I don't want to hear it. That is not a part of my life, and thus it's not a part of my world. 13, understand that this is a fantasy world. Life is brutal. Bad things happen to good people, and sometimes good people have to do bad things. Because sometimes if your character is to live, they got to go and fight. They might have to kill somebody. And in many cases, that could be considered murder. If you want to live, sometimes you have no choice. There are bad people that do bad things that might blackmail you into doing something. You might be given the choice one of these people has to die. Which one is it? And that is a part of fantasy. It's not sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's dark and very dark. There's things called grimdarks. And so you have to forget about your presentism and refined life, and sometimes think and remind yourself life can be hard. Number 14, your PC can die. Drop a new character and carry on. So many people, they don't want their PC to die, and they're going to throw a shit fit that their character can die. In Rollmaster and in the game that I am working on, there are going to be times where in combat it's instant death. There are going to be times where where the PC can do something very, very stupid, and it's instant death. Okay, there are traps and all that. So you have to get past the ideas of, oh, I'm going to live forever, and remember, this is fantasy. There's death everywhere. Excuse me. Number 15. You must be 18 years or older to play this game. You're an adult. Act like it. Okay, this kind of goes back with the PC death. Yes, we get attached to our PCs, but don't go into a trigger event. Don't start crying. Don't start pounding your fists on the table because your PC died. You're an adult. Start acting like one. Number 16. There are no safe spaces in the gaming room. If you are triggered and disrupt the game, you will get one warning and then told to leave. It's understandable things happen. And, it's like, God damn it. Why didn't I do... And, and if it takes you a minute or two to get your composure, fine. Well, we can wait that. If you can't, and after 5 minutes, you're still upset, going, well, if he would have done this, and my character could have done that, and my character would still be alive. If you do that, bye-bye. Rule 17. All music is controlled by the GM. I have 3,000 songs on my computer from all sorts of music except for rap. And so I control all music. I'll have it at a nice, decent volume. Some of it is for theme music. Some of it is just because maybe we're in the mood to listen to some 80s rock music. Okay? Number 18. Cell phones are on vibrate only. Okay, we have immersion, right? We want to not be distracted. We don't want somebody going, I'm going to be doing this, and I'll pull my sword out, I'm going to jump over there, and I'm going to do this spinning maneuver, and I'm going to decapitate that orc. Doing it in the middle, then all of a sudden, your cell phone, somebody else's cell phone goes off and ruins the atmosphere, the immersion. Cell phones on vibrate only. Number 19. If a cell phone distracts you from the game and causes delays, your 2 minutes has started, and you're more concerned about your game or your text from your family member, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be. And if we're left going like this, it's time to turn your cell phone off completely. Put it away. And if you do the, well, I need to be able to talk to my whatever because of this, bye-bye. You're not going to disrupt the game. That is not being respectful to the wants and needs of everybody else in the gaming room. And the last one, because I had an event with somebody in the past. Rule number 20. You clean up your own messes. You make it, you clean it. No exceptions. One guy was a slob, and he gets super excited, and his moving of arms. I did this and all that. He knocked half the snacks off of a table that we had. They had popcorn, chips all over the floor, but the dip went on the floor too. We had salsa down there. And he did not want to clean up. I says, that's not going to stain my carpet. I better not stain my carpet because at that time I rented. And so it's like, game paused. I'm not having my carpet ruined. Okay. And then I have the person sign in date. Okay. So we would be able to say, you want to control how we act, we are going to also control certain ways that you act. You are not going to bring your drama into our game. You are not going to, if you have an agenda, it is staying out of here. No private agendas in this gaming room. Okay? So I think this is the only way, the best way, and kind of the only way to fight all of these liberals with their little safety tools and all their little requests. Because if we do not stop them, they're just going to come up with more and more and more. I mean, well, you saw that one list. Shoot. I mean, that's quite a list there, isn't it? And so we got to nip it in the butt, and this is the best way to do it. And the video is an hour long, so I'm going to end it here. Please put your comments down below. I know some of you are not going to like what I said. If you think that the list should be shorter, longer, or different things, that's fine. You do you. This is my list for me. Okay? And so, if you think that because I'm trying to keep the transgendered issues out of my game that makes me a homophobe, then you're wrong. Because it could be a way to make sure that the group does not get divided. If we do not talk about it, if there is no opening for the discussion, then we keep politics and religion out of the game. And I think that's the best thing we can do. So everybody, please put your comments down below, like, share, that little routine. And take care and be peace.